Even if you're only thinking about buying a piece of real estate this year and you're hoping to put it onto the Airbnb marketplace, you need to watch this video because all of the real estate videos and podcasts that you're listening to right now are wrong. There's this real estate Airbnb investment argument on the internet right now. And the reason why you're getting one side of the story, the wrong side of the story, is because the vast vocal majority of those who are doing Airbnb content are real estate professionals with tens of years of experience in real estate, and they've only recently started becoming familiar with Airbnb for its upsized cash flows, but they don't really understand the nature of Airbnb outside of how it applies to their real estate. As an Airbnb host with 8 years of experience, over 150 properties in 8 cities, I'm going to give you a succinct and hopefully simple approach to how Airbnb is just completely different than anything that you've ever done before, ever. And I'm not saying don't buy property. I'm not saying don't get into short-term rentals. What I am saying is you will make money in both real estate and Airbnb, but it will be 2 completely different ways at the exact same time. So thank you for being open-minded and watching this video. I hope to give you 8 years of experience inside of like 15 minutes. Let's go. Welcome back, YouTube world. My name is Sean Rakijich. I have 150 Airbnb properties in 8 cities, and I don't own a single one of them. And that's not the point here. When you have 150 properties in 8 different cities, you get a lot of data. And not only that, but I've been the largest educator in the short-term rental space for years. I've been teaching here on YouTube for about 6 years now. And I have dozens of students who have hundreds of properties that they own. So I get to see a lot of context here. And I want to give that to you. I need to teach you what Airbnb is in order for you to properly capitalize on this opportunity that's in front of you. The fact that I don't own my properties doesn't matter once they are operating as an Airbnb. You could buy a property and you could renovate that property, make it pretty, force appreciation. You've got this property ready for Airbnb, and then you're going to furnish it and maybe even get a co-host, something like that, and then you're going to list it. I could pick up that same property too. Instead, I would just rent the property. But at the point that we both have identical unfurnished properties, that is where the Airbnb industry starts. How we came across that property will not matter. Let's pose the question, what makes a great Airbnb? Well, what makes a great Airbnb would be interior design, cool things like ceiling height, stuff like that. So picking the right property might matter. But then there's the value delivery. Is the home clean? Is it fully stocked with all this thoughtful little touches that people want? Is the ease of access, like the self-check-in, was it like intuitive enough that they didn't need to call for help? If they ever had to call for help, is somebody going to actually pick up the phone and help them with their problems? This customer service level part of the product is something that is completely different than how you would typically make money in real estate. See, what makes a good Airbnb property isn't whether or not you got a good interest rate, or whether or not the property was a wedge deal when you bought it, or whether or not you forced appreciation during your renovation, or whether it was a burr first. That stuff is all real estate stuff and can make you a ton of money. But when a property goes into the Airbnb space, it is no longer a real estate play. And so you might ask yourself, well, okay, so if Airbnb's profitability has nothing to do with the underlying mechanics of how I came to own or rent that property, then really what is it? What's going on here with Airbnb? Well, the truth is Airbnb is a hospitality product. So you can make money in real estate, and then you can operate a hospitality business on top of real estate that you own, and you get a double dip on that property. But in order for you to be profoundly successful in the Airbnb space, you will need to understand that you're doing 2 separate things at the same time, and you need to respect their differences. This one difference in philosophy might make you the most dangerous Airbnb host/owner on your block. And to better drive this point home, let's look at the nearest hospitality business to Airbnb. Hotels. Hotels are short-term rentals, aren't they? No, you don't get the option to rent a hotel by the year typically, but there are some high-value people who like to stay at the Cosmo all year in Vegas or have these dedicated rentals at these hotels because they just have dirty amounts of money. But the major overlap here is hotels are short-term rental first products. The only real difference to a hotel is that they focus more on their lobby and their bar, and a lot of the amenities are public shared amenities for a building with 200 keys. Where your house, you're typically going to have a pool or a hot tub for your one set of guests. It's going to be private. But an apartment complex, if you ever buy one of those, will be much more like a hotel. You'll have a public pool, you'll have a gym in it, you'll have a hot tub maybe, you'll have all the amenities that are shared with the tenants. Long-term tenants and short-term tenants will both have access to the same amenities. Very much like a hotel. So what should you do with this information? You should segregate your studies between real estate and your studies between short-term rentals. You should still listen to Bigger Pockets. There's plenty that they can teach you about investing in real estate, buying properties, what's going on in the market, sentiment, stuff like that. There's plenty to know and plenty of voices that are good at real estate there. But when it comes to Airbnb, do not listen to a real estate investor. If somebody's primarily a real estate investor, they primarily buy their properties and they happen to get into short-term rentals, this person is going to operate with this inherent bias that is going to be bad for your education. You want to be focusing on learning from interior design professionals, hospitality professionals, customer service professionals. You want to be studying Disney. Of all the businesses in the world to study to get into Airbnb, I think Disney is probably one of the best ones that you can study. And Disney's not a real estate company, is it? And finally, as you scale this pyramid, you're going to have a high standard for both. You are going to put all of your future real estate investments through the same rigorous due diligence that you always do. Do not soften up just because you like the idea of Airbnb or short-term rentals. Then you'll take the same investment, you put it through a different set of comps to validate whether or not that property will perform well on Airbnb. Two separate types of research and two separate metrics on how profitable they could be. Oh, it's cool to do both. Yes, it is true that if you own a property and then do short-term rentals with it well, you'll make more money per property that way. Now, if you buy 10 properties because of your down payment, putting 20% down on a property, your ROI will go down compared to something that I do like arbitrage. If I rent a floor of an apartment complex, I really just buy the furniture. I can get the landlord to give me a floor of an apartment complex, no rent down, maybe even 8 weeks of rent for free. And because of that low cost of investment, and I'm just buying the furniture, how much cash I generate per dollar invested in furniture, my ROI is about 3 times as much as buying a property at scale. But for you, if you're a slow and steady real estate investor, yes, you can make more cash than a long-term rental, and you can make more cash per property, which is pretty cool. Because one of the biggest challenges that my students tend to have in this space is that they get too big to be able to run their business well. There is a point which you cannot really pick up more properties and run them well because leadership's involved, hiring housekeepers is involved, VAs are involved. Now you might say, oh, that's totally fine. I'll just bring on a third-party management company. I'll bring on like a property manager or co-host. Now you're making a huge mistake there. And I've been saying this for years. And that's why so many people right now are saying that Airbnb bust is putting them out of business. A lot of real estate investors like yourself, if you did pick up a co-host, that co-host is going to bleed your revenue as a first line payment. They get priority on your earnings. If you make $10,000 on a property and then you pay $1,000 of it to a housekeeping company because they're the first to get paid, cost of operations, the co-host will be the next one to dip into that jar. They might take 20% of your revenue after that 1,000 is out. So they're going to take $1,800 off the table. If they take up to 25%, they're taking over $2,000, $2,500 out of the $9,000 that's left, and then you get $6,500. So out of the $10,000, you get $6,500 because a co-host was involved. Now, if you ran your own housekeeping team and did your own management, your housekeeping costs might only be $600 or $700, maybe even $500 for the month. So you just saved $500 in housekeeping and you save $2,500 of management. That $3,000 difference per $10,000 that you generate is what keeps you in business and puts every other real estate investor that has a co-host out of business. So let's circle this back around big picture. You're a real estate investor that's used to making passive income, but you want to get into Airbnb because the cash flows are just so good compared to long-term rentals. But you're carrying into the short-term rental space these biases from your long-term rental experience. See, you see long-term rentals as more of a static play. There's not a lot of opportunity for you as a business owner to generate unique value. The rental market's going to get what it's going to get. You know, you can't really drive up your rent double or triple of normal on the same property. You could update some fixtures, go from a B class to a B plus, A minus, maybe get some extra rent, better per square foot, but it's not that much. The ROI on renovating your home for long-term rental really isn't there. But put it on Airbnb and sky's the limit. But you still don't see all of these opportunities for unique value creation. That, and you're so used to using a property manager to go passive that you will very quickly hire a co-host who's going to run the property for you, which is going to kill you a couple different ways. See, the co-host is going to take 20% of your revenue right off the top. Housekeeper gets paid. They then take 20 to 25% of the revenue and you get what's left over. And you're more removed from the operations of the business. So even if you were a good business owner, one with vision, really wanted to give your guests a great experience, the co-host is now in the way. You are stuck with the results of your co-host. And if your co-host isn't acting right, if they're not competitive in the space, if they're not continuing to learn and innovate in this space, which is competitive and ever-changing, if they don't keep up, there's nothing that you can do to stop them from running your short-term rental business into the dirt. Which means in times like the winter bust, where co-hosts were not innovating and everybody's calendars went empty, owners with co-hosts were the first to go out of business because not only were they losing tons of money, they didn't know that there was anything that they could do to get back into the game or to compete. So now in 2023, if you're the type of investor to make the same mistake, you're going to lose money two ways. You're first going to go cash flow negative because you're paying your co-host 20 to 25% of your cash flow, which could have gone into your pocket. And then second, buying a property right now in most major metro areas is going to cause a pullback and you're going to lose money on equity in the home. And then you're going to leave, throw your hands up, and you're never going to want to get back into the space ever again. And you don't have to believe me on this because I'm not the real estate expert here, but even places like Bigger Pockets are stating that there are markets like Austin that are poised to drop 10 to 25% in home valuation over this next year. So it's a pretty poor time to buy a property if you cannot make an upsized cash flow result from that property. And a co-host is the fastest way to not get the cash flow that you deserve as an operator. But then to circle back to supply and demand dynamics, this is great for operators like us. Scaled operators like me who have 150 properties, we are lean, mean, cost competitive operators where our housekeeping costs are less. And the only thing we have to worry about is oversupply. People like you buying a house and then getting a co-host and not knowing what you're doing. You will temporarily be an annoyance to a company like me, a professional operator, because you're going to drive down the average cost of an Airbnb. So guests will spend a little bit less money for a period of time. But once people like you, the real estate investor, the passive one who bought a property at the wrong time and hired a co-host, once you quit, everything will get good for me again and I'll start making money again. Now, if you want to be a lethal operator in this space, then the first thing you need to do is learn to operate your own business. Try to have your own unique selling proposition. Try to have a novel experience for your guests, provide real value, and get to scale quick. You want to pay your own housekeepers by the hour. You want to lean up those costs. You want to understand revenue management so that way you change your prices when you need to. You can keep your calendar over 90% full with any property on the planet. And even though people say if you're 90% occupied, you're charging too little. No, that's not true. You can collect $2,000 a night some nights, but then the nights like a Tuesday aren't going to get $2,000 a night. So it might go for $1,000, might go for $600, might go for $400, but collecting $400 on a Tuesday is better than collecting $0 on the Tuesday. And this is where a lot of these passive real estate investors really fail to take advantage of the space. You can be a business owner and own a property and then be an Airbnb host. You should not treat it like a passive investment. You should get good at this right away. Don't waste any money on a co-host. And allow me to be a little honest and raw on this. And this might offend some of you real estate people, but it's just how you identify, and you need to check your ego if this makes you mad. I'm telling you that you need to show up and do the work. You need to be willing to run this business. And I'm telling you that you need to stop listening to Bigger Pockets when it comes to how to run in this space, how to be an expert in short-term rentals. Like I said in this past video that I shared, you need to look at Disney instead of Bigger Pockets to learn how to run a hospitality business. And the main problem that we're seeing in the space, and the reason why there's a kind of degrading of the product at the hands of Airbnb investors, is because a lot of real estate people aren't smart. Yes, I know there are some smart real estate people. I hope that for you, you're here on this video, which means that you're looking past a lot of the gimmicks and flashiness of videos and you're looking for actual content. So congratulations to you. That aside, there are still so many real estate people that are not intelligent. And what I mean by this is if people were smarter with their money, if they were better business people, they would have put their money somewhere else than real estate. Real estate is where people put their money when they don't have other options. A lot of the people that are in real estate got in because they just don't know what else to do with their money. They're not innovative or resourceful. But the name landlord in itself invokes ego. To lord over anyone can give you a really big ego. So these people have this sense of entitlement too. They're like, you know what? I own multiple properties and people pay me to live. I'm really cool. I pretty much own people. That level of ego keeps people from doing the work to grow. This is why you don't see innovation in real estate. You see very little innovation is because the static, dumb, entitled community that tends to be the real estate investing world. Like I said, that could offend you. So please rise to the occasion here. Really take this video as a wake-up call if you are the owner type. You can create massive value when you buy. You can buy the right property. You can do what you're good at. You can do the wedge deals. You can do the forced appreciation. Max out your income there, but also be intentional about the property that you pick up. Do your market research on what makes a good Airbnb before you just go buy properties, especially if you are leaning on putting it on the Airbnb space. And then run your business truly like a business and create the same advantages that I can in my scaled arbitrage business, housekeeping costs, or whether it's like curated experiences for your guests, whether it's that intuitive responsiveness to guests, knowing what their trip is going to be like before they know what their trip is going to be like, the true magic of hospitality. You can create value here too. don't just stop at the real estate play. And a lot of you who have been looking at doing market research on Airbnb probably have disregarded this channel because I don't own my properties. But I hope this helps make a clear point to you. The videos that I teach on how to do housekeeping, guest communications, how to do resolutions with Airbnb, how to properly manage your prices for either small apartments or big houses, the changes to Airbnb's algorithm, different design styles, what to do if a guest won't leave on time or if they try to squat in your furnished property, all of the videos that I have done have nothing to do with whether or not you own the property. There's not a channel on the planet who will give you the amount of free value that this channel has given. And yes, most of my free content is 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. And I can also tell you, because of the way that this business runs, there are videos from 3.5 years ago that you better well go and find and watch those videos, especially if you want to do market research. I wish you all the best, and I want you to be successful if you care to do good for your customer. But if you treat this like a real estate play, you're going to get your neck taken off, and it's most likely going to be from me personally in your backyard as I put you under with these non-owned properties. But if you own your properties and you deliver value the way that I deliver value, you could actually put me under eventually because you are more lean on your costs by paying down a mortgage as opposed to me paying rent. But most owners will never even get close to the scale advantages that I have because they won't innovate to the level that they need to. If you do this right, you can come swing the bat at me. And I welcome you to play that game. I would really like to see some of you owners do some really crazy stuff this year and impress the world with your ability to be a real estate person and a hospitality person. I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for watching this video. Watch more of my content to Airbnb. It's not real estate, but it's where you want to be for short-term rentals. And as always, guys, I'll see you on the other side.